I could have your attention, please, we'll get started. Welcome to the meeting of the Homelessness Prevention Intervention Board and the Continuing Care Board combined. The first item of business is called order. Renee, could you ask Polly to call the meeting, to do the roll call? I'm not talking to her today.
I was going to say what?
He's done speaking to me. Okay, Chris Clark. Bruce Davis.
Present.
Janice James is excused. John Parker's excused. Kathy Plowman is excused. Bo Revelet is excused, but he will be late. He's coming from across the street. Liz Sheehan.
Here.
Renee Shepard.
Here.
Darlene Thomas is excused. Adrian Wallace.
Here.
Mark Woods.
Here.
Joy, and tell me how to pronounce your...
Andrade.
Andrade. Got it.
Here.
Alicia Branham.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Barely.
Okay.
I think your board couldn't handle you leaving us.
Everybody's in mourning, I think.
Exactly.
They have different ways they show it.
Okay.
Joy and Alicia, welcome to, I guess this is your all's first board meeting, and I saw Joy at the committee meeting, but welcome to the board, and I hope you enjoy serving on it. Thank you. Thank
Do
you.
they want to do a little introduction about who they are?
That'd be good, thank you. I'll start talking to you, that's all right. Joy and Alicia, whichever one wants to go first, would you do a little introduction yourselves, please?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Joy Andrade. I'm here, live here in Lexington, and I am, what all do you want me to say?
What do you do?
So I work for the Kentucky Department for Public Health in the COVID unit. And I am on the Homeless and Housing Coalition of Kentucky Board of Directors here in Kentucky. And I'm really excited to be here. And yeah, anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alicia Branham. I'm an attorney here in Lexington. We get a house at Alteg, but I live here in Lexington with my husband and my 2 boys, and have been involved heavily with the homeless community through Room in the Inn and my church centenary on Kings Creek Road. So excited to be a part of this board, and glad to be here.
Thank you again. Welcome. Let's see. I guess the next item is approval of minutes. Hopefully everybody's had an opportunity to look at the minutes draft to the May 11th meeting that was included in the packet that Polly emailed last week. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? The draft for May 11, 2022. Is everybody listed on there that was at the meeting? I think Darlene was left off last time. Yeah. If no additions or corrections, could I get a motion, please, to approve?
So moved.
Okay. Liz moved a second. Renee second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. I'll take that as unanimous approval. Thank you. Okay. Any public or partner comments regarding any of the issues on the agenda? Hearing none, we'll go ahead to item number 5, the Data and Systems Integration Committee report. Mark?
Yeah. So the Data and Systems Integration Committee, we met on June 1st at the Northside branch of the Lexington Public Library. The committee approved minutes from February 2nd and April 6th. The committee reviewed the final draft of the Coordinated Entry Vulnerability Assessment that would be effective July 1st. I'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end. And this was to, again, be in compliance with HUD and also take into consideration the racial and gender equity issues. The committee then reviewed the second draft of the housing triage policies and procedures that were updated. The committee will obviously continue to work on the housing triage policies and procedures once we get the new coordinated entry assessment in place and a good report is being produced. In-person meetings go in. Obviously, we'll continue to work on the draft. Several meetings were also set. This was kind of a reset for this group. One was the cross-functional multidisciplinary team, which will address top utilizers, and we'll meet on Fridays at 2 p.m. every other week to discuss the top 10 utilizers of our collective services. We also set the meeting for coordinated entry by name list. Those will be in person on Thursdays at 2 p.m. And, we'll start those. Those are going to start every other week and then hopefully go to once a month. I think that's the plan. On the heels of that, by name list meeting for anyone that has done a return to homelessness, there will be a case conferencing with a small group of individuals to dissect our returns to homelessness, just to sort of determine, the causes, do some sort of very soft sort of root cause analysis at a high level to try to improve some of those processes. And finally, the group set dates for the regular HMIS user groups. Since we will not be doing the end user HMIS stuff in the committee, those meetings will be on Tuesdays at 2 o'clock p.m. via Zoom. They will not be in person like the by name list meetings or the cross-functional multidisciplinary team meetings. So the rest of the agenda was moved to the next meeting, and obviously that next meeting will take place August 3rd. So I think the committee would like to motion to the board for adoption of the coordinated entry assessment for 2022 that went into effect on July 1st.
So moved.
It came out of committee.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Sorry, it came.
So we just need the board on vote on it. Yeah,
Board vote on it. Okay. Thank you, Mark. Any discussion, any questions of Mark regarding this? The coordinated entry assessment we need to vote on? Okay. All those in favor, signify by saying aye, or raising your left or right hand, either one. Anybody opposed? We'll consider the unanimous passage. Thank you.
Yeah, you sure did.
Mark, you have anything further?
That's it.
All right, thank you. The Program Performance Evaluation Committee, Liz?
Yes, I was out of town for the last meeting, so Marissa led that meeting for us. Before I turn it over to her for the report, I'm just going to say that the next meeting that we will have will be August 17th at 1:30 at the North Side Library Branch. So I'll let Marissa give the summary of what happened at the past meeting.
Thank you so much. So that meeting took place on June 15th at the Northside Branch Library. We discussed 3 program reviews, the first of which was Community Action Council. We approved the meeting minutes for February 16th, 2022, as well as the meeting minutes of April 20th, 2022. We reviewed 3 programs, the first of which was Community Action Council, the Street Outreach 2.0, Assertive Street Outreach and Supportive Services Only, ARPA. Marty Jones presented on behalf of Community Action Council and discussed their data of intensive case management, street outreach, and temporary shelter data. The second project to be discussed was Lexington Fayette Urban County Housing Authority, the COC, Permanent Supportive Housing, Shelter Plus Care, and the Continuum of Care. While Dean Pleasant presented on behalf of Lexington Housing Authority, they also discussed their previous and ongoing partners, including their new partner of Natalie Sisters, which is a project that is now that will be in effect during July 2022. So now, and then finally, the last project to be discussed was New Beginnings, New Beginnings Housing First Program, Permanent Supportive Housing Continuum of Care Program, and Christina Ellison presented on behalf of New Beginnings and discussed the number of individuals served as well as exits from the program, returns to homelessness, and provided additional details and information regarding individuals who do not exit to a positive destination. For public comments, we received some from Tony Dunn of Fayette County Public Schools, who spoke about their program for students that are considered homeless under the Department of Education's definition, and the various services that they provide, including keeping kids at their home school
and providing transportation to that school if it is outside of their schooling zone. In addition, they can provide vouchers for school supplies, home supplies, such as beds, etc. So, and then we adjourned the meeting. That was pretty much it.
No action needs to be taken. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Next item, we have the Advocacy Issues and Programs Committee. Mr. Wallace.
Good afternoon, everybody. The Advocacy Issues and Programs Committee met here in this conference room on June 22nd at 1:30. The majority of our agenda was moved to the next meeting in August, and the meeting was focused on reviewing documentation for our standards for removing encampments and some other items relating to the continuum of care. And there were some questions about that, and so we did not move those out of committee, but I believe that we wanted to address those today so that we could get those voted on. And so, if so, I'm going to transition to Polly for clarification of the questions that arose in the committee so that we can then vote on those as a full continuum of care.
Yeah, so what was sent out in your packet, if there was questions from committee about an edit, that edit was left as original. So if I had taken something out and there was questions from committee, I put it back in. If I had added information and there was questions from the committee, I took it back out. So we can continue to have conversations in committee, but we need to get these approved for multiple reasons. One of them being just the structure of LFUCG has changed, and we need to update it to reflect a commissioner. So that's the main change, and the branding. Anything else that was of substance. Yep, you got it. That was discussed at committee, I didn't address, and we can take that back up at the next, or y'all can take that back up in August. But this will be a full COC membership vote, even for the people in the audience. So make sure you signed in to get credit.
Sorry, I meant to announce.
That's okay.
Are you going to ask for the vote, or how are we going to do that?
Plan to.
Okay. So that is the end of my report.
Oh, yes. Could I get a motion and second to get this on the floor? Motion to approve the Fayette County Encampment Standard Operating Policy and Procedure.
So moved.
Liz has moved. Could I get a second? Second. Adrian, second. Is there any questions or discussion at this time? As Polly indicated, we'll now call for a full COC vote. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Were you going to call?
No, I'm not going to call roll call because they signed in.
Okay.
So usually when we, just for
Excuse me.
what we're discussing, usually when we do a full COC vote, we would call roll call. I'd call each organization and you all would vote. I'm not doing that mainly because I didn't bring the list, but also because you all signed in. So if you'll just voice vote, and if you have opposition, just make sure I know where you're from, so we can mark down opposed and who was opposed.
Okay. And also, please, as Polly mentioned, I'm sorry I meant to mention too at the outset, please be sure and sign in. If you did not, please be sure to sign in when you leave. Also, Chris is here now. You got him.
Oh, there he is. I see him.
Chris, we're just noting that you're now here. Thank you.
My hearing today is, I haven't heard 3 words that anybody said since I've been here. My hearing today is really bad.
Well, we didn't say anything bad about it. We didn't say anything bad about it. So,
I didn't even hear that. Everybody thought it was funny, but I have no idea what you said.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay.
No, it's not your fault.
Okay. All right.
I know we're voting on something, but honestly, I don't really know
But
what we're...
please be sure and sign in.
I didn't do that either.
Okay. All right.
That's today.
Okay. All right. We got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your right hand. Right hand.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Do we have anybody opposed to these policies and procedures? If so, if you let us know, and Polly can note that from the organization that you represent.
All right.
Seeing none, is it all right to declare it a unanimous vote of approval?
Good.
Hearing no objection to that, we'll call it unanimous. Thank you. Adrian, anything further? Do you have anything further?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Encampment SOPs and review report, Polly.
They were included in your board packet. A little different this time. I know I usually report to you all just what we have cleaned up and removed. I kind of wanted to give the board and our partners a better idea of what we actually get reported to us and are expected to respond to. So that list that was provided were just complaints that my office received a week prior to the packet. So it's in a week's time, and even after I sent it out, I realized that I probably left off 3 or 4 locations that are reported. So just because we only clean up maybe 1, 2, that's a process. But I just want to make everybody aware our street outreach teams are incredibly busy, very overwhelmed, very overworked, and it's a never-ending stop of the majority is complaints. Some of them are true concerns for people's safety, but the majority is just public complaints. So it's a little different this time. You won't get that list every time. I just felt it was important for everybody to be aware.
Thinking about that, moving forward to our next committee meeting, could we get somebody to compile a list of the public complaints? I mean, that's public record, right?
Not really.
Is it not?
So I will give an update on that. So we are currently working with Lexington Rescue Mission and internally our GIS system, software system, to compile a public-facing data dashboard. You won't be able to see where the camps are, but the public will be able to publicly report a location, just like you would do to 311. Also, it'll give you a data dashboard of how many camps are active, how many camps are being engaged, how many camps are inactive, how many camps haven't been checked on or engaged in the last 30 days, how many individuals, their gender, and their age, I believe.
And the location of the camps?
We will not make locations of camps public information, mostly because some of our camps have had violent attacks on them, so I'm not in the business of putting that information out to public to come and shoot at people. However, the different teams, so Hope Center, Lexington Rescue Mission, Community Action Council, New Vista, my office, code enforcement, they'll all have access to the map and the information contained, all the HMIS numbers, all the notes, all that will be shared across the teams. Liz and I are going tomorrow to give it a test run. So we're going out with code enforcement. We're going to see how this software works and see what we can find. We've probably got 15 different places we're going to go tomorrow. And once we give it a test run and license everybody and get some training, it'll be up and running. And then that data dashboard will be included on our regular data dashboard on our website. They're going to integrate it. And I think he said like 811 refreshes every 30 seconds or something like that, so we can refresh it pretty consistently. But that's what we're working on as a way to give the public a better sense of information. Now, I will tell you, the packet's public information, so all those locations that I listed in the packet, that's public information. But the
Dashboard won't have that. And I don't want to publish it if it's a risk, right? So while somebody like Civic Lex could dig deeper and then add that type of info, we don't need the request that they do so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? I'm good. I'm done.
On the director's report.
Okay. Director's report. Got a bunch of items. I included an updated budget. Of course, this was an updated budget as of last Wednesday. It's not up to date as of I sit here today. mainly because Bluegrass Care Navigators has pulled down a good all but $15,000 of their funds. So that's pretty much spent out. So it's not up to date as of today, but it was up to date as of last Wednesday. We still have some money in the general fund for things that aren't covered through ARPA. FY22 is done. We've spent all our dollars there. FY23, a random total of $7,737.34 remaining unallocated. So whoever, as you all continue into next year and have budget conversations, just add that total into FY24 would probably be the easiest thing to do. My recommendation, doesn't matter, y'all don't have to listen to me, but my recommendation is try not to fund a program for $7,000. So, of federal money, that would be a mess. And then 24, we've just got a couple of things. Of course, our HMIS subsidy and our payee program is out of 24. So you have a pretty big balance there. Mountain Comp Care just went under contract July 1st. So they're working on securing locations and deciding how we're going to figure out coordinate entry referrals. We've got, Marissa's got some, we went over some updates to coordinated policies and procedures for this program specifically. But that is a budget in review. As I leave you, any questions, concerns, comments? Wonderful.
Well, no, I was trying to think. There was a question came up in committee about dollars for the street outreach. Do we have unallocated funds still, or is everything allocated?
You have $7,000 in 23, and then you have the majority of your 24 budget completely unallocated.
Because I think the street outreach runs out soon, and maybe they're not funded.
So the only one that I currently fund is Community Action Council. And they got a bunch of money sitting. So, Marty, right?
We still have a decent amount. I think the contract, when it switched from city funding over to ARPA, they extended the contract to the end of June 2023. I assume at that point there are funds left, and we'd be able to, I think, go past that and extend, have them see other outside resources.
So, by July next year, you're done.
With that contract, depending where funds are at, but we still have a decent amount of funding remaining. We may be able to get more other resources.
It's just dependent on how fast they spend down their money.
Gotcha.
I mean, they really have till the end of 2026. We could probably extend that all the way, depending on how fast they spend.
Okay.
We still have money in our street outreach, but it's not approved for office, so we have enough to fund it, like, to carry on through the next year when that was extended. I guess it's extended. We applied for it to be extended, but
GCV deadline was changed, so they have through, I think we gave you guys 30 days before our deadline, so I think through the end of August 2023.
Yes, that's right.
So Hope Center has another year.
And we have enough money to continue until then, so.
Yeah. CAC is probably looking at a year and a half.
Okay.
So you got some time. We don't fund Lexington Rescue Mission. That's privately funded, correct? Or is that, we did a
reallocation and got some ESG CV money reallocated from rapid rehousing to street outreach, but then ESR is picking up where that leaves off. So for the next 2 years, we'll have some ESR coming up for that.
Okay. There you go. Any other budget questions? Okay. Next thing is...
Actually, yes. Before I'll show up after this.
That's okay. Ask him now.
Could we use the Innovative Solutions Fund to buy a gift for our outgoing director?
No.
Okay.
It's an ethics violation, but
I mean,
I think that is very sweet. But that's
we have fun,
ethics.
so I just wanted to ask. Okay. Since it was a budget time.
Well intended.
Yes, very well intended. Okay, hybrid meetings. Yes or no? We want to do them, we don't. What? Hybrid meetings. Yes, no, otherwise, it's open discussion.
What do you mean?
Do you want to do them? Like, sometimes meet on Zoom, sometimes meet in person? Are we just going back in person and... All right, great. Oh, well,
Are we?
I don't know. Renee just said we were, so I just took it.
What did you say?
Thoughts?
Any thoughts, discussion on this?
Well, board meetings are quarterly, right?
Actually, I don't really
Every
care
2
because I only have to go
Every 2
there, like,
months.
once more.
So 6 meetings a year.
Anybody else?
Does it make sense to include some sort of language to give us the option to go? Should that be needed?
You always have the option, but as we set the schedule, I just kind of want to know how far I can set the schedule in advance for the person who, like, I'm just trying to button that up before I
What
walk out
about
the door.
other city boards and the council and all?
They're all back in person.
All person.
Pretty much.
Live.
I think the only one that
Yeah.
I know
Some
of.
do Zoom, but
Yeah, I think affordable housing still does Zoom because Rick's out of town. I think for the most part, Board of
some
Adjustments.
boards prefer Zoom, but like the major ones, like Board of Adjustment, Planning Commission, the ones that have a bigger like public engagement component and like public comment section, like they are meeting in person. Council's meeting in person.
I think PDR is still Zoom.
But there are a few. So I personally don't like the hybrid meetings. I find them very hard to like manage and like hear everybody. But if it's like, in person, everybody's in person, or on Zoom and everybody is on Zoom, I'm okay with those. But the like mix of people on Zoom and in person is very difficult for everybody to see and hear. So I would vote no to like hybrid.
Okay. No to hybrid.
You want to vote on that, Father?
No, I just wanted a discussion. We have locations set for in-person for the rest of this year. So as of right now, I'm going to leave those the way they are. And there will just be in person for the rest of this year.
I will say COVID is being crazy. So I would want to reserve the right to go to Zoom if we felt like we needed to, but yeah.
Okay. All right. Next, this is a full COC membership vote. So you may have seen HUD released a what they are calling a COC supplemental NOFA. This is going to be supplemental to our regular COC competition grant. The dollar amount that we are allowed to apply for is a little over $2.2 million. This really deals with, okay, Marissa, I know your one sheet's in here somewhere. Why am I not? Okay, there we go. So it's a little over $2.2 million. It'd be a huge boost for Lexington if we were able to get that kind of money. We were talking about street outreach. It's dedicated to unsheltered population. So it is really that supportive service side of street outreach, the case management side, and the housing side. I sent this out in a packet. You are more than welcome to go through it. There's timelines about when we are to apply. The thought process that we kind of had in the office is that we would follow our regular COC competition process pretty closely. The requirements are pretty much the same. So we would update maybe our rank and priority, because these are all going to be new projects. So we kind of need to update our rank, scoring, priority. But we would keep a lot of what we do the same as far as committee meetings, announcements. I find it interesting that it's going to be due almost right in line with our other COC competition funding. Grant is for 3 years, so it's $2.2 million over 3 years. If I could speculate, it's because they're going to do what they did with YHDP, which was the Youth Homelessness Demonstration Project. It got rolled up into the regular competition, so allowing this grant to run for 3 years gives them that ability to roll it up into your regular COC competition. So it appears to be money that we will continually get upon renewal if we get it. So there's not really a downside. The money won't go away. That would be my guess of what they've done with some other things like DV carve-outs, YHDP. I do want to talk about the scoring. there's information, but I want everybody to, if you have your packet, to really pay attention to the last sheet that we gave you in regards to this. This is going to be an incredibly competitive process. Every single county, city, across the nation have seen massive increases in their unsheltered population. We have not seen that significant of an increase comparatively. And I know we're all thinking, oh my God, there's, you know, you go out in public realms now, it's like everybody's panicked. Our 50 people is not compared to Louisville's 1,000. And their big, I think Louisville's report, their unsheltered population is 3 times what it was 2 years ago. It's pretty massive. They're sleeping on the sidewalks, just on the corners. So comparatively, we're not very competitive in the data realm. I'm just going to be very honest. They are using point-in-time count data. Los Angeles has 50,000 people. We had 31. We are just not that competitive. So we have to make up points everywhere else in order to get this. I think, and Marissa and I did this, I think we're going to be okay on what we can and cannot control. It's the blue stuff. The stuff that is the 70 points of this application that I have concerns about our ability to do, and we would need to, as a COC, as an entire continuum, partners and everybody, start now taking really active steps to working on some of these things and putting them in place. So development of new units or creation of new housing opportunities, landlord recruitment, leveraging healthcare resources, current outreach strategies, permanent housing, all those, the stuff in blue. As it stands today, if we had to write what we do today, we're not going to score very well. So, and Marissa and I have been over this a lot. So I don't know how I can make this, I'm just begging at this point. I think that we could get all 70 of these points. If we as a community decide to apply for this and to make it competitive, I know we can get all of these points. There's no reason. We have these meetings, we talk to each other. It just honestly has to be written down what we probably already informally do. It's just not written down anywhere. So it's going to take a lot of cooperation and coordination with our office and our partners, and especially on the partner side. So, for example, if Hope Center Street Outreach already has a very informal place or a process on what they do and how they engage people with lived experience, or if Dylan does, if a drop-in center, we may not be aware of that informal process. We need to know that. I have this on the docket today to vote as a continuum, as a partnership, because this is not going to be something that the Office of Homelessness can just do on their own to make it competitive. We can always just apply if you all want us to say we applied and then get a dime. I mean, it's we can take that route. But if we truly want to be competitive for these dollars, it's going to, over the next couple of months, especially, honestly, I'm not going to be here. I mean, Marissa's new, love her, she's amazing, but she's never been through a federal application before. I'm kind of just asking our partners to really step up and help her and help her walk through this process and give her what she needs and give her a hand and us to be competitive. Some of it is discharge policy. Some of it you might have to do internally to your own organization. There may be a lot of MOUs that have to go back and forth. But I do have a docket to vote it on because I want to make sure we have everybody's commitment to help her and really be competitive after these funds, because our numbers aren't going to get it. I can tell you right now, those bonus points, those 30 bonus points, we're not even in the running. Not even going to get them. That's based on data we don't have.
Well, what's the plan? Like, what is the city's plan since Marissa is new? we're getting ready to go into this process and you're not going to be there, so are they going to like immediately try to interject an interim, or what's the plan?
The plan is to actually start doing interviews before I even leave, based on the dates.
I said, what's the plan for the interim with Polly leaving?
So their plan is to, so I gave longer than a 2 weeks, so their plan is to actually schedule interviews before I even walk out the door. So it'll be a hot minute, but I don't know what that we don't know what that looks like on the other side.
Do you all usually do the grants internally, or do you ever use outside contractors to help with it?
We always do them internally.
Given the situation, would LFUCG consider that?
I don't know. It hasn't come up.
Because I know some people that I think might be a good fit to help us discern where we would fall on that range of points, and then helping us with the strategy for that. And I think since we're going to be a little short-handed, it may be worth considering that.
Would $7,000 hire them?
Yeah, I would think so.
Well, you still have your general fund.
Yeah.
It's got whatever, 196,000 in it.
It may be worth it. For
Application deadline is October 1st.
October 20th.
It's October 20th.
Yeah.
20th.
October 20th.
And Laura, that might not be a bad idea because this is filing,
It's just a bad time.
well, we're going to have 2 federal grants due at the same time.
Yeah.
No, I've got it marked. I'll talk to Charlie about it.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I guess I still don't know what we're asking. Like, are we just asking for a commitment? But I mean, we can ask for a commitment, but unless there's like a action step that they're actually committing to, who's going to?
Are you asking for like a work group?
No, I think why I put it on the docket is basically the question of do you want to apply or not?
Yes.
So I think it's a yes, but then, so we're all on the board, is that we need to do it. But Marissa needs help. And so it seems as though a work group would be what we need.
Okay.
And so it seems also that even though it's funding, it's more advocacy, so we can put it in committee.
You got a lot in your committee.
I know we
do. You might want to do an ad hoc committee specific to those who work with the unsheltered population.
Okay.
And I will tell you why. A lot of this is going to be scored on how well we engage people with lived experience while we are doing this NOFA. So it would be good to do an ad hoc group with our current street outreach teams, but bring a lot of people with lived experience to the table while you're doing this for that little ad hoc group. I think that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm. And I also agree with Laura about hiring the folks. Yeah.
Because that contractor could work with this group a lot.
I make a motion that we put out a request for proposal. I say that, hold on, I'm going to shut up for a second because I don't want to make it too cumbersome. But how do we allocate those funds to hire them? How easily can we do that? Like, what can you contract for under $10,000 through your office without an RFP?
Without an RFP? Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then we don't need to make a motion for RFP. You can make the decision internally.
Depends on how much money it's going to cost. I don't know how much those people cost.
I'm thinking $5,000.
How much do those people cost?
Well, but you've been in the business, you know. So I'm trying to think of something fair in what we have that we know that we could say easily $5,000 to help us write this.
I just contracted out a federal grant that was a quarter of what the work on a no-vote is, and it cost me $6,000.
How much, please?
Oh, so you're thinking like 20?
I'm thinking more like,
yeah. Oh, I thought you said 6.
I paid 6 for, it was a quarter of the work.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. It was not as.
30,000 is my, or 50,000 is my cutoff, I believe.
But we've got the work.
I think it'll be more
So
because
really
everything is expensive.
Because our partners work.
It's a lot.
This is,
I mean, this is 2.2.
And this is a $2.2 million grant. This is a hefty size of a grant, so.
They haven't released the application yet in eSnaps, or at least last time I checked they haven't, but just on all like the calls about it, I mean, it looks like it's going to be just as much.
Oh, and I maybe not mentioned this. Everybody in this room are the ones that are applying for the projects. So that's where it's similar to the. So we have to do a collaborative application for Marissa, but then all the people who want the money also have to submit project applications. It's the same thing as our COC competition. So for example, if the Hope Center wanted more street outreach money or wanted to do something, they would write a project application, we write a collaborative application, and then those two are judged together.
And there won't be any issues, conflict, folks that are working on the committee to get these dollars. And so, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna hate myself for a second. But since we don't really do street outreach, I'm willing to not apply for a project grant, and I can go Marissa and write the collaborative. I don't hate you for saying that.
You just became Marissa's new best friend.
Marissa and I are gonna get real close on it, but I will do that.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't know what capacity-wise I'm able to commit, but as someone who has gone through the COC competition process for the office several times, I'm definitely available to answer your guys' questions and help along the way.
Are you sure?
Y'all be sure about this.
Myself too, but hey, why not?
Because it's not small. And he just left.
We had a call, so do we have to put a dollar amount on the, like if we say we want to put out an RFP, do we have to?
If Jackie's going to help her write it, we wouldn't put out a, yeah.
Well, I thought, so she'll help write this too?
Okay. She said she wasn't going to apply for a project. Yeah, so just FYI, if your program wants to apply for a project, please review the NOFO, because I think there's a lot of options for activities that you can do, but it's mainly really directed to supportive services and housing, rapid or otherwise. But ad hoc, who wants to be the person who puts the ad hoc group together, schedules the meeting, gets them on track?
Adrian?
Since he left the meeting.
When you step out of the room, you get volunteer.
He made a partial motion and left the meeting.
I was going to say, he's mid-motion and walked away.
He's mid-motion. Somebody want to volunteer to run him down in the hall?
Because this is going to be really time consuming, and I want to make sure he's aware of the time commitment.
Well, when you say that, like I'm toying with volunteering, but what do you think the time commitment is?
It's definitely probably a touch it every day for the next 2 months. You probably would only have to meet in person 2 or 3 times in August, probably 3 or 4 in September, but you're probably going to touch it every day.
I would be in person with that. Bruce looks like he has that kind of time.
Adrian, you left mid-motion.
No. I said I'm gonna shut up. I didn't want to make that motion because it's either RFP for a low amount or what they should be paid. I mean, RFP for what, for a larger amount, or just making a contract internally. I think, because as a business person, rather than having to go through a competitive process, if somebody's willing to bring me on board as a consultant for $5,000, I would say yes, even if I know that it's worth $50,000, whatever, right? Because we have the COC willing to help do the work, and they're coming in to consult, and they'd be willing to then be there for other projects. And so I think that if Laura has folks who'd be willing to do that, then that's who we should contact to get them to work alongside us, right? If we were hiring a group, then it'd be different. So thank you.
I'm gonna ask if it's an option.
So that's the reason why I say I want to rescind the motion and then do some more research first.
I still need somebody to run this ad hoc group, though. She volunteered you, but you have to make it a priority.
Well, yeah, I will, for sure, because I was wanting to put it in my committee anyway.
Okay.
So it just means a different meeting, and that's fine.
Okay.
Oh, we need a motion to approve that.
All that situation.
So we do need a motion for that.
Yeah, it's basically a motion that says we're going to apply. Jackie is going to help Marissa write the collaborative application. There will be enough project applications from our partners for $2.2 million. That's the other thing. Gotta want people actually have to want this money. Jeff's gonna provide a little bit of help, and Adrienne Wallace is gonna step up and make this a priority and make sure that things are coordinated and groups are meeting and people with lived experience are engaged heavily through this process. You're gonna be on top of it.
And I'm going to call you even in your retirement.
That's fine. Be at home. So
the board, is it the board approving the ad hoc committee of the board?
Yep, we gotta have it, yeah, because we do have to approve, so that's an ad hoc committee that we're approving.
Approving the ad hoc committee of the board, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's the motion.
Okay, yeah, to approve the ad hoc committee, yeah. I need a motion to approve the ad hoc committee of the board. Renee moved, is there a second? Second, Liz second. Any further discussion on this? And to note, upon approval, Adrian has agreed to chair this ad hoc committee of the board. Correct? Okay. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Consider it unanimous. You know, note that Bo would come in.
Yeah, I got both coming.
Okay.
So just in the timing thing, we're gonna go back and we'll set timing before I leave this week. We'll announce that we are gonna do this no vote, make it public, put it on our socials. If your provider is interested in applying for a project, please reach out to myself or Marissa. Let us know what you're thinking about doing, how much money you're thinking about applying for. As she stated, they have not released the actual application because that's not important. But we can try to help you walk through all the steps that you need to take if your agency wants to apply. Again, unsheltered. It's where no construction, acquisition, or otherwise rehab unless it's permanent housing related and your agency feels that they can get through all that red tape with HUD to build or buy something. It's an eligible, like Jeff's laughing. It's an eligible activity. I can't tell you to do it, but more power to you through all that red tape. Okay. Next, there will be someone from our department will be giving council the annual update on September the 6th. The board will see that for feedback the previous week, so August, actually 2 weeks prior to that. So if you have any feedback on that, it's condensed to only what is covered under the ordinance. So it's very simple. Very, very simple. It basically is just the 750 fund. And it's only reviewing what we did in the last 12 months. But you'll see that to get feedback on it.
Is it mandated that we only report on those activities? I'm just wondering if there would be benefit to an extended report so like council fully understands the range of activities.
I think there would be benefit to giving a report on everything what the office and the continuum do. But this specific, what was put into committee and what is put in committee to be compliant with our ordinance for this date is limited to that. Now, you can always speak to your council member and ask them to put in committee a full review. You can always talk to your council member and ask them to put in committee a full review of everything that the continuum of care does. And then that would be a much broader conversation.
Would you like to put in?
Sure, why not?
And we've done little hits and miss, so like, I've had a council member put in like our COVID response in committee. So I did like I don't know if y'all remember, I did a presentation about the system's COVID, but again, it was just this really kind of box that you're stuck in. And you're time limited to 15 minutes.
I think what I would do is just bring that up in the discussion at your presentation that you're going to give.
Well, I won't.
Well, whoever gives that presentation.
Haven't even started on that. Someone else will need to actually do that PowerPoint. It's on my list of transition items. Kickoff meetings with untold content. I've sent both of those out. Again, I'm asking if you received an invitation for those. the onboarding kickoff meeting. It's really important. We're going to try to soft hand that off as much as possible. That is a massive, massive project that I know is really important to this continuum of care. So that kickoff meeting is in 2 weeks, I believe. And then here's where I'm at, and this is what I was going to bring up. And I put this on here not knowing that I was actually leaving. So this last item, I'm probably going to just take off. But here would be my recommendation. After sitting on this for a really long time, hearing the discussion about the COC Executive Committee, it would be my recommendation to the board to amend your current continuum of care governance to add additional people to your board that are voted on by the COC membership. So you still have your core 13 related to HPI. Those same 13 will remain continuum of care. But when it comes to continuum of care matters, like committees, COC funding, NOFOs, anything that falls under the jurisdiction of the continuum of care, you add additional members that are elected, nominated, and voted on by the continuum of care membership. They're not mayor appointed.
And does that have to go through ordinance approval?
Nope. Though that governance charter is for you to, the membership and this body, to write how you all see fit. It does not have to go through council. It does not come back. It is this body's controlling document.
But ordinance sets how many board members for HPIB. But it's not the HPIB, it's the COC.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're saying is those HPIB board members would automatically be COC, as well as then the governance charter for COC,
Mm-hmm.
add those.
Yep.
And then we have 15 or 13?
13.
We have 13. And what number do you suggest that we add from the membership?
I said add 4. And the reason I say that is it's going to swing, if you look at it, it swings provider heavy, partner heavy, when you add those 4 seats. It swings the whole board.
Mm-hmm.
So you really move out of that. We have everybody's appointed by the mayor. It starts swinging the other direction. That's a very simple change to the governance structure. It's really easy to do. And then the continuum of care would just have to go through the nomination and voting process. Okay, that would be my suggestion. It's a lot easier to do that than to carve out an entire executive committee and try to figure out their place. It's another committee, it's another meeting. If you can do this in a way that just swings that board and gives the membership and the partners control as their body, as their continuum of care, and it doesn't feel so much heavily politically appointed, you're still getting what you want. It brings us in compliance with federal regulations, which if y'all didn't know, we're out of compliance currently. So currently in our regulations, it says that the COC membership has to vote in their own board. And that's not what we do. So you got to have seats that are voted on, elected, nominated, and voted on by the partnership.
The only thing that gets sticky is just like we do now, where the asterisks are full COC membership, where we have these combined meetings where some stuff is board approval, some stuff is COC approval.
So you would have to split up your agenda a little bit. So for example, I'm just taking this agenda. So you would still do a roll call, but you still do, but like the public and partner comments, that would move down to the COC. So the first part of your meeting could just be HPI. And honestly, the only thing you would cover in that is your budget. There's things that the ordinance says, but they're like every 5 years. Like the annual review, that's an HPI thing. Y'all could review the ordinance to find out, but it's really small, to Bo's point. It's a very tiny, tiny portion of what this board is actually made up to do. Honestly, all the committees, that's all a continuum of care. All of it. So once you start doing your committee reports, none of that, there's no committee in ordinance. And so you don't even have to close the meeting. You honestly can just keep going, but make it a continuum of care, Lex and homelessness continuum of care board meeting. And those items are addressed as that board. That's something that our legal department and I had talked about probably 4 years ago, was a way to split up these agendas. You have to be very aware of it, about what goes where, but then when you all get in the habit, I think you'll be fine. But that would be my suggestion. It's open for discussion, there's nothing to vote on, but I know this is kind of my last opportunity to kind of weigh in on that subject, so I thought, I'm gonna throw that in here. At the time, I thought I'd call a special meeting and have that same discussion. Then I quit the next day, so I just did.
I mean, I feel like we should I think it simplifies the process. It makes sense. If we can make that decision internally, I think we should just vote on it. I mean, we've been going back and forth about this executive committee inside of our committee for a long time. We've been tabling the discussion. And so it would be nice to move forward with this structure.
I want y'all to think about it. And I know Marissa can put it on the agenda, or it's already on the agenda, for the next advocacy committee. She can work on typing up the governance.
But it would be a full CLC vote, right?
But it'd come out of committee. It'd come out of the advocacy committee.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So we'd have to put it in committee in August and then bring it back to this next HPIB meeting. So I'm just saying that I think it's a great idea and it simplifies the process. So why put it off 2 and 3 months when we could be building the structure?
Don't you think people on your committee will want to?
Well, my committee's supposed to be here. And honestly, most of them are.
Don't you think you want to see the changes to the governance?
No, here's my point. My point is that we're having a discussion, and so I'm saying rather than just make it a bullet point, let's have the discussion. What are the pros and cons? And if there are no negatives that outweigh the benefits, then let's do it. Because I think it's a positive structure, and when the government portion allows for it, then it gives more power and authority to the CLC, which is what we're seeking, so that we don't have to worry about political blowback, depending on who sits around the horseshoe. Because again, the whole point behind this is that giving authority and power to the CLC, to you all as providers. And like she said, putting 4 members on the CLC board is actually, I think, more beneficial than the structure of creating an executive committee in which we've been going for.
Can we put this item on the agenda for September then? September board meeting?
Yeah, and I'm perfectly fine putting it back in our committee to have further discussion and then bringing it back in the fall.
I think that'd be a good idea for the committee to look at it too. Because you've had a lot of discussion about this other approach in your committee.
We'll flesh it out in committee.
I would say for the groups, that would need to be voted on before we submit our COC competition, because the governance has to be in there and we have to be in compliance when we submit that application. So if the timing works out to bring it back in September, that'll be great. But for some reason, if the timing's a little off, you might have to call a special board meeting and discuss it and vote on it, which we've done before. It's fine. But
is this something, Polly, that I'm just thinking out loud here, does someone from the law department that's worked with you need to look at this as far as structure and everything?
I'll have them review it
language and all that, how it would be set up. And you'll talk to somebody about the law department. Thank you.
Well, I won't, but I'll.
Well, somebody
will.
We'll channel them.
I'll add it to my list.
Okay.
Transition notes. You have a transition team?
Alright. Is that your report?
That's it. That's my last director's report. Thank you. It's been fun.
Thank you, Polly. We got the next regular meeting for September 14th. Other issues, public sharing for issues not on the agenda. I would like to bring up, I don't know, I guess the chair can't make a motion, but I'd like to ask for a motion from the entire CFC to be seconded and passed unanimously, if at all possible, that we thank, with extreme gratitude, we thank Polly for all the work that she's done over her years here, And a lot of which we don't know what the good things that she's done, but all the things that she's done, and to wish her the very best in her new career move.
So, yeah, second.
Who made the motion? Alicia made the motion. Get this down, it's gonna be on the record.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll write this down. I'm sorry.
Please.
Hold on.
You ain't gone yet. Well,
You gotta make her right.
I have to write my own notes.
you got it right.
Make sure to make it really sweet.
I heard a story about the lawyer one time that was married to the secretary, made her type up their divorce paper. It could be worse. It could be worse. No, at least that supposedly happened to a lawyer in Pikeville one time. I'm not blaming Eastern Kentucky, but that's supposedly a true story.
When bad apple gives us all a bad name. When bad apple giving us all a bad name.
Yeah, right. But also, don't let the truth get in the way of good stories.
All right. Further discussion.
Okay. Hopefully, there's no discussion on this. We've had the motion and second. I'd like to ask for a unanimous vote of approval. Once again, thanking Polly and wishing her the very best in her new position with Bluegrass Care Navigators. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hearing no opposition, I declare it unanimous. Polly, thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Are there any other issues in public hearing for items not on the agenda?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Wallace.
My daughters sing, for anybody who doesn't know, and they're going viral on TikTok right now. We're going on tour. We're going to New York City soon.
Oh, good.
But our album release is next Monday, not this coming Monday, but the 25th, at the Lifestyle National Art Gallery at 6 o'clock. So everybody's invited.
Great.
It's free, so we'd love to have you.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, I will say that.
Any other items? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Liz moved, Renee second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Thank you. We'll stand adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Polly.
Congratulations.
You still have to work with me, so.